All right, now I'm going to teach you guys a little bit more about what we will learn in AP World History. This is kind of an introduction to the test part 2, where I'm going to talk about the content we will learn this year, the themes, the 6 themes we need to know, the 6 historical thinking skills you'll need to have for the exam, and the 3 historical reasoning skills you'll need to have for the exam. So first off, content. This is pretty simple here. So the first time period that's divided up by the College Board is the years 1200 to 1450. This is kind of like the end of the Middle Ages. It's known as regional and interregional interactions. This will be 16 to 20% of your exam. The second part is 1450 to 1750. It's called global interactions. You got a lot going on in this section, from the Renaissance and Reformation to the Scientific Revolution and Enlightenment, and this is 24 to 30% of the exam. Then you have 1750 to 1900, things like the American and French Revolutions, the Industrial Revolution, things like that. This is called industrialization and global integration. This is also 24 to 30% of your test. And then finally, you have 1900 to present, probably going to be your favorite unit because we get all the way to the present day. It's called accelerating global change and realignments, and this will also be 24 to 30% of the questions on your test. The themes. There are 6 major themes in AP World History that we will need to understand. First off, humans and the environment. So the environment shapes the environment, and as populations grow and change, these populations influence the environments. Okay, so people shape their environment, and their environment shapes them as well. So for example, hurricanes. Hurricanes really impact populations. They sometimes destroy houses, or in certain really bad cases, entire cities, and that is how the environment and humans kind of interact there. Another theme, cultural developments and interactions. This is the development of ideas, beliefs, religions. Okay, so this is what illustrates how groups in society view themselves with political, social, and cultural implications. Okay, so for example, this is a map of all the McDonald's in the United Kingdom. All right, if you look at that, that is just so many thousands of McDonald's. But McDonald's didn't start in England. It started in the United States, in California. Okay, so the fact that not only has it become overseas, but it so pervades other European cultures. Okay, so that's an interaction of different cultures. Next, governance. A variety of factors contribute to state formation, expansion, decline. You have governments maintaining order through a variety of institutions, policies, and procedures, and governments exercising power in different ways. Okay, so here's a classic picture from the summer of 2018. Of course, there you have Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, very different types of people. They run very different kinds of governments. Okay, one runs a republic, the other runs a communist dictatorship. So different type of governments there, but they still interact with each other. Next theme, technology and innovation. You have human adaptation and innovation. These things have resulted in increased efficiency, increased comfort in our lives, security, and they've shaped human development with both intended and unintended consequences. Okay, this is kind of a funny picture right here. The purpose of technology is supposed to connect us, right? But how often are you just sitting right next to someone and you're both staring at your phones, connecting with your imaginary friends on TikTok instead of with each other? Social interactions, the process by which societies group their members and the norms that govern the interactions between these groups influence all sorts of institutions. Okay, so you have, for example, the political parties. You have Republicans, you have Democrats, and you have interactions between those two parties. And finally, the last theme is economic systems. As societies develop, they affect and are affected by the ways that they produce, exchange, and consume goods. All about money here. Okay, so for example, Amazon. Okay, that has completely transformed the economic system. So now we get to historical thinking skills. The first one is developments and processes. So you got to identify a historical concept or process and explain the developments, of that concept or process. Next is sourcing and situation. So a source's point of view, purpose, historical situation, and or audience. You'll need to do this for all of your DBQs, your document-based questions. You're going to have to source the sources, okay, the documents, and tell me, do they have a bias? Okay, what's the purpose of this of this source? Okay, so for example, here's a couple of covers from the magazine Newsweek from the year 2012. You're probably not, maybe you're old enough to remember the election of 2012 between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, but this is a clear example of what we call bias. This is a clear point of view right here, okay? So one week they have Mitt Romney, the wimp factor. Is he just too insecure to be president? And then the very next week they have, why are Obama's critics so dumb? Okay, you have this strong picture of him looking into the distance in a visionary, inspiring way, right? Now, I'm not necessarily saying that either of those two things are completely untrue, but it's clear bias. Okay, they're portraying Mitt Romney in the worst possible way and Barack Obama in the best possible way. So that's their purpose, is to help Barack Obama win that election. So that's what it looks like to source a document. You find their point of view, what's their intended audience, okay, what's their purpose, what's the historical situation behind this, in this case, the 2012 election. Next, claims or theses and evidence in a source. Be able to identify what is the thesis of a document and what evidence do they give. You also need to be able to give evidence yourself. Fourth, contextualization. Okay, you have to contextualize in all of the essays that you write. Okay, that is basically describing the historical context or situation behind a document or a picture or something like that, so that you better understand it. Okay, so here's another example from more modern times. Okay, this is from 2018. You see a quote here from Donald Trump. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals. And we're taking them out of the country at a level and a rate that's never happened before. Okay, so the New York Times posted this. This is a real quote from Donald Trump, and that sounds pretty bad, right? And the New York Times says, Trump lashed out at undocumented immigrants. Oh, wait a minute. Where did he talk about undocumented immigrants? He didn't say that in the quote, did he? Actually, if you look at the context, what he was talking about, the group he was talking about was MS-13. That is a Mexican gang who murders and rapes people. Okay, they actually are animals, not undocumented immigrants in general, but MS-13 specifically. So when you learn contextualization, does not sound nearly as bad. Skill 5, making connections, okay, identifying patterns among historical developments and processes. And then finally, the 6th skill, argumentation, making a historically defensible claim and giving evidence for that claim. All right, last thing we have with this slideshow here is your 3 reasoning processes. We're going to practice these a lot. All 3 of them start with a C, so you should be able to remember them. Number 1, comparison. Compare, contrast. Okay? Describe the similarities or differences between 2 different things, maybe 2 different leaders, 2 different documents, 2 different nations or governments, and also the similarities as well as the differences. Next is causation, right? Cause and effect. What was the cause of this event? How did World War I cause World War II? That's a reasoning process. Then finally, continuity and change. So you describe the way things stay the same over time and the way things change over time. Okay, so with that, you have your reasoning processes, and we are going to practice all of these themes, all of these historical thinking skills, and all of these reasoning processes quite a lot throughout this school year.